Okay, so hey guys, welcome back to another Access 72 video, and it's a pleasure today to be joined by Caoimhin Agyarko. Hopefully I pronounced that right. How are we doing, mate?
Kevin, everyone gets it wrong, don't worry. But yeah, I'm not too bad, thanks. Just out of my second session there, so I'm all good.
Good to hear. Well, apologies for getting the pronunciation wrong.
You're all good. You're all good.
So, am I right in saying, for anybody who may not know, you're a 27-year-old super welterweight who's 14 and 0.
Yes, correct.
Brilliant stuff. So, I'm going to start with the question which I always like to start off with. Why did you start boxing?
Um, my uncle used to box, and I was just kind of showing the boxing club that he had boxed at, and I just stuck a pair of gloves on. That day, I went up to see the club, and it's just never looked back.
Was it quite a young age then when you started?
Yeah, I started boxing when I was 7 years old. Yeah, so 20 years ago now.
Yeah, wow, okay. Well, I suppose, starting at that young age, do you believe that's only really benefited you in your career so far?
Yeah, without doubt, obviously I had a great amateur background, fought all over the world for Ireland and the WSB and stuff. So yeah, it's definitely benefited me, obviously going into the pro ranks.
And when you look back upon your amateur career, what would be them highlights of yours? Like you mentioned, representing Ireland must be one of them.
Yeah, definitely representing Ireland at the World Championships and Europeans, and then fighting for the Italian funders in the WSB. But I think I won six national titles, but winning an Irish elite title at senior level was probably the highlight of my career.
Mhm. No, of course, it's amazing. And like I mentioned, you had that very stacked amateur career, and then I suppose, why did you decide to make that transition into the pros when you did?
Um, I'd always had the pro style, from a young age in the amateurs. Everyone always said that I had the pro style, and I was very aggressive when I was younger, as in my boxing style coming forward and whatnot. So it just always suited me. The pro style always suited me better, and it was just the right time. I think I was 21, turning 22 when I turned pro, and I just felt like I achieved everything in Ireland that I wanted to achieve at representing Ireland at major competitions. And yeah, it was just the right time to turn for me. And thankfully it did, because then not long after, obviously, COVID hit. So if I wanted to go to Olympics or anything like that, I would have stalled my progression and stuff.
Did the COVID, I suppose, in general, stop anything professional wise or really halt you professional wise, or did it, did you manage to progress through it quite well?
No, I was relatively active during COVID. I mean, compared to most fighters, I had two fights, two free fights during that period. So it didn't really hold anything for me, no.
That's good to hear. And I suppose, obviously you are now 14, it's clear that you are a real bright talent coming through on the domestic level so far. And do you feel like you've had this development coming through with each fight and you've been improving with each fight?
Yeah, definitely. I think I've definitely been improving. I think over the last maybe 2 years, the momentum hasn't really been there, as I had injuries and stuff like that. So that my career kind of was stop start. But I think I've progressed well. Yeah.
Hmm. Of course. And I suppose when you are having little bits of problems with injuries here and there, what is that motivation getting you through that?
Just the end goal, and that's to be the first Black Irish world champion. Do you know what I mean? I know why I'm boxing. I know why I put my body through hell. I know why I take myself away from my family and friends to live in Liverpool and train. So, um, yeah, just when you have injuries like that and you're out for a while, I'd obviously get surgery and stuff. You just got to look at the bigger picture.
Hmm. Of course. And are you just very proud to be representing your nation?
Yeah, definitely. Every time I fight, I always say that I'm putting Belfast on the map, and I take great pride in being an Irish black fighter, and I'm representing Belfast and Ireland. So, yeah, of course, I take great pride.
And with Matchroom having events in Ireland now, a couple now, and is it nice to see this big light being shown on the Irish fighters?
Yeah, definitely. It's good to see the Irish fighters get their opportunities. You know, I mean, Ireland's a it's a fighting nation, and I feel like it's been starved of big shows back home for a while, so it's good to see Matchroom put on big shows in Ireland, in Dublin and Belfast, and hopefully that can continue.
And when you talk about being with Matchroom and the journey you've been with them so far, was it always something that you were comfortable being on this big stage?
Yeah, I always say shine under them lights. I'm a fighter that deals with pressure well, and I like to be under them bright lights and perform. I'm a performer, and yeah, I don't struggle at all with the big shows.
Yeah, of course. And when you are a prospect who is coming up and you're kind of going away from that prospect time now, but when you were at that point, was it still important to, win fights and win fights comfortably, but also make sure that they are still entertaining for the fans watching?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, the most important thing is to win, no matter how you do it. But obviously, you want to impress the fans. You want to bring new fans on board, um, and obviously, if you can get the stoppages or be an entertaining fight, then it's great for the fans. So yeah, I think it's important to obviously I've got a great fan base and they always support me. So I always want to put a show on for them.
Indeed. And when you speak about possibly the next fight for you, obviously I'm sure you can't give too much away at the moment, but is there a possible month or time of year that you'd like to be back fighting?
I'd love to be out in May, June. My manager's working on something at the moment, so I'm just working towards that. I'm in camp, training hard, so I'll be ready when the opportunity comes.
And I don't know if you'll be able to say anything too much at the moment, but do you believe that might be in Ireland or is that a UK, an England-based one?
I'm unsure right now. I honestly don't know where it would be. I'd love to be back in Ireland. I know that I wanted to be on the Katie Taylor show at the end of May, but I've heard that's going to be in the States June time. So I'm not too sure if there is any shows back home going to be happening. So um wherever it is, I don't care. Obviously, I want to prioritize being back home, but I just had back to back fights back home in Belfast and Dublin. So um I don't mind where it is.
Of course. And when, I feel like I have to address what was said on one of the interviews that I did the other day. It was Ismail Davis after his win versus Troy Williamson. I suppose, first of all, were you a little bit maybe surprised to an extent that he called you out or was willing to want to fight you?
Um, I don't know if that's really Ismail's intentions to fight me. I think maybe it's his team's pushing it more. But no, I'm not surprised. I think Ismail's a fighting man. I need to probably fight anybody just like myself. We've shared round sparring. I think he's a good fighter. It's a fight that I would entertain, but I think I'm a bit on in my career than he is.
Mhm.
So I mean, I've been fighting for titles in my last five fights. I'm well ranked with the WBA. I was ranked number 10 in the world. And have a good ranking with the Europeans. So to fight Ismail would be there would need to be something on the line. Do you know what I mean? I've got a path that I'm going down. I've been saying it for the last year or two that I want to fight for the European title and be in a position to do that. And for me to do that, I have to beat someone that's in the top 10 in the European rankings. And I think I'm seven or eight. And I don't think Ismail is. So it doesn't really make sense for me to fight Ismail unless something is on the line. Do you know what I mean? Um, do you know what I mean? He's just beat someone that I'd already beat previously. But listen, no, Ismail's a good fighter, and one day we'll share the ring, no doubt.
And not to talk about him too much, but he did kind of say that he thought he beat Troy Williamson better than anybody else has beat him. Do you believe that is true?
No, I don't. I think not being harsh on Ismail, I think it was a very good performance early on in the fight. But I actually only had him winning by 2 rounds. I think if Troy could have stepped on the gas, it could have been more competitive. But listen, Ismail did what he had to do, and he got a good win against Troy. But to say that he beat Troy better than anyone else did, I don't believe that's true. He probably had a more entertaining fight because he stood there with him. But this is boxing. This is sweet science. Hit and don't be hit. And I believe Ismail got hit more in 1 round than I did in the whole fight. And that's not to take anything away from Ismail. Like I said, he's a good fighter and he did what he had to do. But he believes that he beat him. better than me and Josh Kelly did, and that's his opinion. Do you know what I mean? Doesn't really mean much to me, to be honest.
Mhm. Indeed, and I suppose when you look at the other fights around in the domestic scene, like you mentioned there, Josh Kelly's a name, and Green Gilly seems like that might be a rematch being made. Are you looking and wanting just big fights at the moment for yourself?
Well, I'm not. I keep saying this. I'm not a domestic fighter. People forget that I'm an Irish fighter. I'm not a British fighter. So it has to mean something. Them kind of fights would have to. A British title on the line
Mhm.
means nothing to me. No disrespect to the title. It's not something that I'm chasing. It's not something I've ever been interested in. I know I'm eligible to fight for it, but like I say, I'm an Irish fighter. I want to go down the European route, pick up a European title, and then straight on to world honors. I'm not getting any younger. I'm 27. And I just want to be in big fights, and they have to be meaningful fights. They can't be, all right, you beat him, and then where do you go next? Do you know what I mean? It's like they're not progression fights. No disrespect to Ismail, but if I beat Ismail Davis, what does that really do for me? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, he's not ranked well in the world. He's not ranked well in the European. So it's like not. I don't want to be disrespectful and say it's a backward step, but it doesn't really progress my career. Do you know what I'm saying? But it is a fight that would entertain, no problem at all. If I believe Boss Baru is might vacate because that's the fight that I was chasing, Boss Baru. But I believe he could vacate because he's ranked number one with the WBA, and if so, then I want to be in a position to fight for the European title.
And I was going to touch upon Abbas Baru as a fighter, and his performance against Sam Eggington it was quite a close fight, but with Sam Eggington, it's always going to be a good brawl type fight. What did you make of that fight?
I didn't see the full fight. I just seen highlights, and from what I heard, it was a great fight, a real war, and I've shared the ring with both of them fighters as well in sparring, and they're two top fighters, and I wanna be in big fights myself. So I would definitely entertain that fight with Abbas Peru for the European title. But I believe he'll move on to world honors.
Mhm. Of course, and I appreciate your time. So just a few more from me, and I suppose as a fighter, when you speak about what makes you interesting, what attributes you believe are your key attributes, what would you say they are?
My mind.
Mhm.
I outthink everyone. You can be faster, stronger, fitter, but you won't mentally beat me in there if I've got two, three, four game plans to beat you. Whether I need to stand and trade, whether I need to box from middle distance, whether I need to box on the back foot and make you look silly. And I'm not a one trick pony. I can do all these things. So I think being able to adapt in any situation is my best attribute.
Mhm. No, it's a brilliant answer, and I suppose you've kind of touched upon future aspirations of that of world honors, and I suppose if you were to say a dream venue for you to headline at, what would that be?
You probably won't know it, but it's just getting rebuilt back home. It's a venue called Caoimhin Park. It's somewhere I grew up watching Gaelic and hurling Irish sports. When I was a teenager, I went there to watch Gaelic and hurling. So to be able to fight in that stadium, that ground would be unbelievable. It's in the heart of West Belfast, where I'm from, and um, yeah, it's somewhere I grew up. But other than that, probably MSG or Vegas.
Of course, and it is amazing to see how much respect your home country and your hometown, and it's amazing. And I suppose if you are talking about fighters which maybe you know of and Belfast related fighters, what type of maybe fighters would you say are there to watch out for? Are there any names which you'd like to say are to watch out for up and coming in Belfast?
In the pro ranks, little Connor Quinn was a very good fighter. I think he just signed with Queensberry and Frank Warren. But just the usual. Do you know what I mean? You got Paddy Donovan, Gary Colley, Pierce O'Leary, Lewis Crocker, Sean McComb. Do you know what I mean? All fighters that I've been on the Irish team with. The McKenna brothers. Irish boxing is booming at the moment, and we're a nation full of talented fighters. Another fighter, Callum Walsh. I don't really know him, but I see him. He's doing great things out in America, and he's the same weight as me. So it's a fight that could potentially happen down the line. So all these fighters are very good fighters, and they're doing well. So I think they're all the ones to watch out for as well as myself.
Of course. And so I'll leave with this final question, which I always like to ask. I want to just open up the floor to you. Anything you want to promote, shout out, anything like that?
Just big shout out to my sponsors, obviously, with free injuries and activity and stuff. They've supported me, Queensberry, PSA Capital, Menstrual Recruitment, and Colour Master. So just want to say a big shout out to them.
Amazing stuff. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you. Hopefully, I'll be, at one of your events soon, and maybe I'll be able to catch up with you then.
Perfect. Thank you, mate. Good speaking to you.
Brilliant. Well, if you're on your around here and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Like video if you did indeed like video, and thanks for